Good morning, and thank you for attending Police Headquarters. My name is Constable Carolyn DeClute, and I am here today to introduce Homicide Detective Sergeant Andy Singh, who will be providing an update on Homicide number 51 of 2019. Detective Sergeant?
Good morning. Thank you for coming. Today I'm going to be releasing some video footage in regards to the homicide of Amir Naraine, which occurred on September 29th, 2019. Amir was 21 years of age at the time of his murder, and we're still looking for answers as to why this happened to him. I'm going to provide a brief summary first. On September 29th, officers from 23 Division attended a plaza at 2700 Kipling Avenue, where they located a vehicle, a black Chevrolet Malibu, in which, in the back seat, Amir Naraine was located, unfortunately deceased. Since then, through our investigation and through review of video surveillance in the area, we have identified that just after midnight, two individuals drove Amir's vehicle and they left it in the plaza parking lot. And this is the video footage that I'm releasing in relation to that. And these individuals then left shortly thereafter, leaving Amir in the back seat. The police were not contacted till approximately 19 hours later after this vehicle was dropped off. I'm releasing this video footage in the hopes that these two individuals come forward and speak to me, as I believe they have some very critical information as to why and what happened to Amir. We believe that Amir was with these individuals prior to this vehicle being dropped off, and unfortunately they have not come forward yet. The driver of this that comes out of the vehicle here can be described short in stature, wearing a hat. He's wearing a light colored shirt and light colored runners. The passenger that comes out can be described slightly taller. He's wearing a dark jacket, shirt and pants that are also dark, and also wearing light colored runners. In this video, they can see him walking away from the vehicle northbound towards Kipling Avenue. What I'm also hoping for is the public's assistance as they watch this video in looking at the physical description of these two individuals and their walking gait to see if they can help in identifying as to who they are. And I'm asking them to come forward and speak to investigators. We're also releasing some images of the black Malibu that you may see on this footage as well, that if anybody saw the black Malibu or Amir on September 28th or September 29th, to come forward and speak to investigators as we are trying to recreate the timeline before Amir was dropped off in the plaza here. And as always, as an alternative, if people wish, they can also call Crime Stoppers and provide us information that way as well. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Are you confident that these two people that you're talking about were not the ones that killed this guy? Or you don't know that?
We don't know. At this point, they're witnesses that we need to speak to. I believe they have some very vital information, which, as you can obviously see, they drop off the vehicle. And we know now that the vehicle had Amir in there when police were called.
Lastly, can you speak to the culpability of people who have somebody that needs assistance and they kind of walk away from them? And is there any legalities with regards to that, with discretion, of course?
I just don't want to speculate at this point as to what they might have been involved in. But what I can say is 100% every citizen is expected to provide medical assistance when they can. I don't know what their role is. As far as I'm concerned right now, I believe they're witnesses. I believe they have some very vital information that they need to come forward and speak to me.
Sergeant, but this was video that we obtained the day after. A number of us from the media obtained this video. We also obtained video showing a man coming back to check on the vehicle shortly before 911 was called. Do you believe the same man that returned to the vehicle almost 19 hours later to check on it is one of the men seen here in this original surveillance video?
I can confirm that is not the case.
What do you know about that other video then? What can you tell us about the person who came back later and checked, do you believe that is the person that called 911?
I'm not going to go into the evidence of the case. What I can tell you is that individual has been since identified, and that's part of our investigation. I think it's more important for us to focus our efforts on these two individuals, and I'll say that because they are the last two individuals to see Amir in the vehicle. And I want to emphasize that's the most important part of the investigation right now.
At the time you said you thought he could have been left without, he might have needed medical aid. You said, I remember that day, you said, whoever left him there may have left him struggling, and to not drive him to hospital would have been a horrible thing to do. Do you think he was alive at this time, or do you think he was already dead?
That would be very hard to speculate, and what I can say is we don't know what his medical condition was at the time that this occurred, at the time he was in the vehicle. What I can say is if, in fact, Amir was in the vehicle and in need of medical aid, that's, again, I will reiterate that we expect every citizen to do that, to provide medical aid. But unfortunately, I don't want to speculate at this time.
Where and when do you know of him last being alive?
We do have some accounts from family, but they're much earlier, on September 28th. There's still some gaps in the timeline that I'm hoping his friends, these two individuals, other people that might be aware of information that can fill in those timeline gaps for us.
So like leaving home the morning of the 28th, or you said earlier on September 28th, like when his family last saw him when he was leaving home that morning, is that fair to say? Or
He was seen by some family and friends earlier on September 28th, but we're still trying to piece together the timeline. And specifically the timeline I want to focus on is prior to midnight on September 29th. So this is, the video that you see here is approximately 12:15, and police don't get a call till 7:30 p.m. on September 29th. So that's 19 hours that we can account for just by seeing the vehicle there. It's prior to midnight, that 12:15 to be exact.
how many hours prior to 12:15 are you trying to fill in the spaces on?
Everything. I would like anybody that has any information, if they can come forward. It doesn't have to be September 28th. It could be the 27th. Because as we know, these things, they can build over time. And if there was something that did occur, if there's anything out there that can give us information that will assist us in our investigation, it doesn't have to be tied to any specific day.
Amir Naraine was reported missing the day on the 28th, according to what I remember by his family. Can you talk about that? When did they report him missing? It was in Peel, from what I recall.
Amir's family, in and around the time that we got the call, had contacted Peel Police because they had not heard from him, and the timing would be almost parallel to when we get the call.
Had that ever happened before?
In regards
Had
to,
he ever been reported missing, or was this an unusual?
I see, not that I'm aware of.
And can you speak about what was going on in his life at the time? I don't remember what we knew about him. Can you tell us about him?
A very nice young man, a loved member by his family. I've spoken to his parents. They're still looking for answers. They're very confused and have totally distraught as to why this has occurred to Amir. Nothing in their mind could explain how Amir ends up in the backseat of his own car. So unfortunately, they're left with a lot of questions, which is what we're trying to establish here.
Do you know more about who discovered him? Was it just like a resident or?
So the individual that, I'm sorry, can you clarify that question?
Do we know who discovered him and his condition at the time? Like, was it a passerby? Was it somebody who worked at the plaza? Was it just a resident? Right.
So the 911 call that we got was to, in relation to this vehicle, for us to attend there. I won't go into what was told to us on the 911 call because it's evidence. But what I can tell you is, again, I want to refocus the attention on these two individuals because the time span is so large, which is unusual, that it's 19 hours after Amir is dropped off in this plaza lot is when we get the 911 call. So I think the most critical thing I want to emphasize is these two individuals hold very, very important information that we need.
Do you know if they went to another vehicle? Like, could you see them on surveillance video following them northbound on Kipling? Do you know if they got away in another vehicle, or if they just kept on walking and that's where you lost them?
I don't have any information in regards to that.
In regards to the person that found him, hadn't you said at the time it was a friend of his?
No, I did not mention that. What I did say is we were at that time trying to identify that individual as well.
Was Mr. Naraine working? Was he in school? What did he do for a living?
He was working till very recently prior to his murder. He had left work because he was experiencing some health issues that the family has said that I can share. Not the health issue itself, but that he was having health issues. And that was the reason he was unemployed at the time. But from my understanding, he was looking to get back into the workforce.
What type of work did he do?
He was in marketing and putting up marketing signs.
Was he known to police?
No.
Might there be a secondary crime scene?
Quite possibly, which is what I'm hoping that these two individuals can shed a light on, is that one thing I can say for sure is that it didn't happen here in the plaza lot.
Did it happen in the car, or do you think he was shot inside the vehicle?
Again, that's not something that I want to speculate on at this time, but what I can tell you is that it did not happen at the scene where he was found.
You say if he was tied up? Was he tied up in the back of the vehicle, or he was just...
No, there's no such information to indicate that.
Any other questions? Can you tell us if the 911 call was about a suspicious vehicle or about somebody with injuries inside the vehicle?
The 911 call was indicating for us to attend the plaza and specifically the vehicle. So once the emergency services got that information, they attended and they assessed Amir at that point. And unfortunately, he was already deceased.
Have you been able to ascertain if that person who went to check on the vehicle, who you've now spoken to, was the man who made the 911 call?
Sorry, can you ask that question?
Remember
again?
we had this video back a few weeks ago, a number of us obtained video showing a man going to check on the vehicle. You say you've now spoken to that man.
Right.
Is he the caller?
I'm not going to get into that at this time.
And can you say anything about where you know that the car came from? Did the car come from the north or from the south, or
Right.
do you know anything about the path?
So what it appears is just by the direction that it enters the plaza parking lot on video here is that it's proceeding westbound. And that to me, westbound in the actual plaza parking lot. So it would lead me to believe that it came from Kipling Avenue because that would be the nearest entrance that it would come from.
Lastly, might this be a good example of what an anonymous call to Crime Stop may help you, because if somebody has any information with regards to where a secondary crime scene may be or who these two individuals are, it's just an anonymous tip. Could that help you as well?
Absolutely.
I know you always like witnesses, but in a case like this, that might assist.
Absolutely. I've always emphasized this, that information for us is critical. We prefer people to come forward and speak to us because that allows us to not only gain information but to clarify things that as they develop, but Crime Stoppers is alternatively very important as well.
Detective Sergeant, you released the cause of death. I can't remember that.
We have not, but what I can tell you is that he was shot multiple times. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
That video, Sergeant, and it's showing, just because I haven't been to the scene yet, that's Kipling there? Or no, that's Kipling there?
Sorry, the street that you see in front of the Black Malibu is Kidron Valley.
Oh, okay.
It's a side street that goes off of Kipling,
Oh, okay.
running westbound.
So when you said that they took off, you think that they took off to north though, right?
That's correct.
So then you saw them go that way, is that
That's
right?
right.
Like
So-
they walked
so
this
this would
way
be
and then
Kidron
that
Valley.
way? Yeah,
Kipling will be over here. So they're seen walking the parking lot northbound towards Kipling.
that's the other camera view that you showed us, is that right?
He's a
Okay.
good reporter now.
Sorry, I haven't been there, so I was just watching this assuming that that was Kipling, but,
Yeah, so that's Kidron Valley.
okay.
So these two individuals come out, as you see, they do a stutter step to go westbound, but when they change their mind, they go northbound We know now through some other video in the area that they actually walked north down there.
Was there anything of significance found in the trunk? Like they opened up the trunk and closed it?
So, as you can see, what you see is what we can see as well. So it's unclear at this time.
Did you find anything significant in the trunk?
No, nothing that would indicate or tell us who they are or what their motives were. Thank you.
The trunk was found closed, right? The picture that you guys show with it open, you
Yes.
guys had opened it.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I'm playing catch up.
No
Okay.
problem. Thank you.
That concludes today's conference. Thank you for attending. We do have a news release which has these images as well as the video, which will be released shortly.